These 6 habits are making your life so much more difficult than it needs to be, especially if you're a guy in your 20s or maybe your 30s. Okay. And a lot of people don't realize that most of what's stressing them out isn't life, it's habits that you picked up without really thinking about it. And so I'm going to break down 6 of them that you maybe picked up that are costing you, that are making your life so much more difficult than it needs to be. And this is the video that I needed at a time of my life where life felt hard, I felt stuck, and I just couldn't see my way out. And I guarantee if you identify one or maybe all 6 of these habits, they're eating away at your peace, they're eating away at your confidence, they're eating away at your clarity, and we got to talk about it. I don't want you to judge yourself as you watch this video. I just want you to see yourself more clearly so that you can start moving a bit differently. Now, habit number 1 is saying yes out of guilt and then resenting everybody that's involved. A lot of us guys don't necessarily recognize and realize how much pressure we carry to be dependable, to be available, to be solid. And so we say yes to things out of instinct, right? We become yes men, not because we're people pleasers, but because we're just trying to be a lot of things to a lot of people, and we want to be that for people. So we say yes out of instinct. You get invited somewhere, you say, "Yeah, sure. No problem." Someone needs your help, someone needs your time, someone needs your money. You say, "Sure. No problem." Even if you're running on fumes, even if you don't got it. Now, the problem is every time you say yes, when you really mean no, you create 2 problems, right? Number 1, you drain yourself. And number 2, you silently, slowly, but surely start resenting the person that you're helping, the person that you said yes to, even though nobody made you say yes. And these are 2 things that just ultimately eat away at your life. And if you're carrying this resentment, and if you're already drained while trying to pour from an empty cup, it makes sense that life's going to be harder and you're not going to have the clarity that you need to make different moves. You're not going to be able to access your best answers. Okay. And then this resentment over time, it changes how you show up in friendships, it changes how you show up in relationships, it changes how you show up at work. And then how you show up in those spaces causes issues that maybe would have never came up if you were good, if you were coming from a more full cup. So if you want life to feel lighter, you have to practice disappointing people so that you don't disappoint yourself later on, right? Just giving a clean, I can't do this today. I appreciate you thinking of me solves like 90% of this. But it's not even just the day-to-day things. I want you to think about your bigger life decisions, okay? Are you saying yes to certain moves out of obligation or because you feel like you should or you think you're supposed to? Or are you saying yes from a truly aligned place of knowing your purpose, knowing why you're here, and knowing how this yes is in alignment with those 2 things that I just said? Okay. Otherwise, you might say yes to the pressure, for example, of marrying the wrong person because you felt like you were supposed to, because you said yes when you really meant no. Okay. Now, habit number 2 is overthinking instead of just taking one small step. All right. Some of you are exhausted, overwhelmed, tired, stressed out, and you haven't even done anything yet. Like you haven't even, really gotten after it yet, honestly. And I'm not saying you're lazy and this doesn't happen because you're lazy, right? But this happens because you live in your head. And as someone who lived in their head, again, I'm saying all of these things from experience, by the way. Like, I hope you don't think I'm judging you. Like, this is coming from like, someone who's been there and, or, some of the stuff I've seen working with clients over the years. But listen, you're exhausted. You haven't even started the thing yet. And that doesn't mean that you're lazy, but you're probably spending too much time in your head, and living in your head and not living in real life is exhausting. It's draining. And You do this because in your head, you're trying to plan the perfect move. You're trying to predict every possible thing that could go wrong. You're trying to avoid looking stupid, unprepared, inexperienced, right? But here's the thing. Here's the truth. And I'm probably not telling you anything that you haven't heard before. But the truth is, you figure things out as you go. Thinking about the thing is actually more stressful than actually doing it. And I first learned this when I was struggling approaching and talking to women, right? And I had a lot of internalized stuff, and I would be so in my head, and I'm like, what's the perfect way to do it? How do I need to look? All of this imaginary stuff going on in my head until one day I decided, you know what? I'm tired of just thinking about it. Let me just do it. And like that discomfort of approaching a stranger that, I found attractive or was interested in, right? Like that, the discomfort went away in like seconds. And I had spent so much time in my head, not actually just going and taking the first small step towards the thing that I wanted, which is a relationship with someone that I find attractive, with someone that I choose, right? And that's the thing. Thinking about doing the thing is more stressful than actually doing it. So send the email, apply for the job, book the appointment, walk into the gym, sign up for the gym, right? Like whatever it is, make the pitch, take the first imperfect step because life gets so much easier. I'm telling you, when you stop trying to be perfect at the things you've never done before. You're not going to have the perfect plan because you are doing something for the first time and you're building something that hasn't been built. And here's the thing. Other people can show you where to look, but they can't give you the exact answer because they're not you. They don't have your lived experience. They don't have your identity. They don't have your voice, right? Like we're all unique individuals. So there can be maybe a blueprint in terms of where to look, but ultimately at the end of the day, you got to take the first step. But being in your head is draining you and stressing you out. And having this habit of being in your head versus just taking the first small and perfect action, that's holding you back. So stop. And with this, habit number 3, stop trying to do everything alone. Stop trying to figure all this out by yourself. When you're in there living in your head, you're isolated and you're thinking that you're a lone wolf or whatever. I don't know what you're thinking, but like maybe you have this idea that you have to do everything by yourself and you don't. Now, I know a lot of us more or less get some sort of validation, some sort of recognition for being able to do things by ourselves, being able to handle stuff without complaining, right? Being able to figure it out without asking for help. And that feels good and that makes sense. And maybe that was the reality for a season. But the issue is doing everything alone doesn't actually mean that you're strong. And it also just makes everything else take twice as long. A lot of the most successful people that work in teams. They collaborate. They recognize that they can go further with the right people. They recognize that there's people that think differently, that have access to different information, that have different skills that could support you. One of the things that I've done that's made my life so much better and my whole process so much easier is recognizing that I don't have to do everything by myself, and there's other people that can help me. There's other people that I can learn from. There's other people that I can walk with, and that's made me so much more effective, and that's helped me accomplish things much faster than if I was just trying to do it my way by myself. I'm not a stubborn person anymore, and I don't recognize you be one either, because it keeps you isolated with your problems that would be easier if you just had even one person in your corner, even just one. And if you can't find just one person to be in your corner, then you're probably judging people too much. You're probably in your head judging people too much, because the fact is, all it takes is a conversation or two, and you've met people in your life because you did not enter this world by yourself. It took two people to make you, and there's people around, right? So if even just one person was in your corner, don't be in your head, don't push them away, don't be so harsh, don't expect perfection, okay? one person in your corner can help you than just you being by yourself. You don't need a whole community. Sometimes you just need one solid friend. Sometimes you just need one solid mentor. Sometimes you just need one person you can call when you're spiraling to say, I'm spiraling, and this is the goal that I had, and I'm getting kind of in my head. And that person can be like, hey, dude, get out of your head. Even just that can change the game. So don't make the habit of trying to do everything by yourself. Life feels lighter, better, easier when you stop treating connecting with other people like a weakness, because it's not. Your inability to connect with other people and work with other people and collaborate with other people is a weakness. Okay? So just know that. Now, habit number 4 is one that I really had to grow in myself. And that is responding to stress by shutting down and avoiding it, as opposed to just hitting it head on, right? So maybe you're stressed, maybe you're overwhelmed, you don't want to deal with it. I get it. And so what you do is you default to scrolling, drinking, sleeping too much, saying you'll start tomorrow, right? But this avoidance, it gives you short-term relief, but it causes long-term problems. And some people have avoided things their whole life and wonder why their life is stuck the way that it is right now. It's because you never solved the problem. And so if you avoid the problem multiplies. Bills pile up, deadlines, come and go, tension increases, you start feeling behind, even if the problem was small at first. It's so much easier if you just face the smallest piece of the problem first. Open the envelope of that, overdue credit card. Look at it, right? Respond to that difficult message. Clean one corner of your room or your house if it's a disaster, right? Like, set a timer for 5 minutes and start the task that is the problem that's looming over you. Because here's the thing, momentum follows action. Motivation follows action. Momentum takes over once you start doing the thing, right? Momentum comes in once you stop avoiding. And I think I used to make this mistake of like trying to seek and search and look for motivation. But I learned ultimately, hey, if I just start doing the thing 5 or 10 minutes in, my brain and all of the noise shuts off. All of the parts of me that didn't want to do the thing or thought it was too big just disappear. And before you know it, I'm making progress and I have momentum. And that's just how we work. Momentum will take over once you stop running or avoiding the thing. So stop avoiding the thing. Okay. Now, habit number 5 is one that I am still dealing with to this day. I'm dealing with the problems that having habit number 5 caused, which is treating your body like it doesn't matter. Okay. And that's something that I did. I was on a physical transformation journey, trying to change the shape of my body, trying to change my look. And then I joined the military, where that journey continued, and everything became about beating myself up, grinding, not taking naps, telling myself I can sleep when I'm dead, this, that, and the third, and just treating my body like it was nothing, like it didn't matter, putting anything into it, tons of stimulants, tons of caffeine, right? Like tons of garbage, and not recovering, not stretching, not breathing, not prioritizing sleep, just treating my body like it doesn't, like, and that honestly makes life harder than it needs to be. And it'll eat away at your clarity, because guess what? Your mind is all over your body, and your body is your vessel with which you live out your purpose and, do things in life. But I think this one hits us as men, especially because we're trained to disconnect from our bodies early. Like, that's just how we're conditioned. And so what happens is you skip sleep, you live on caffeine, you eat whatever's the easiest, you carry tension in your shoulders and your back like it's normal, and you ignore the signs that your body's been trying to give you for years. But here's the thing, your body's not optional, right? Your body is not optional. Again, it's the vehicle. If you're going to reach anything that you're trying to reach, your body is going to be the vessel that gets you there. but life feels so much heavier and problems feel so much bigger and more difficult to overcome when you're tired, when you're tense, when you're dehydrated, when you're stressed out. Okay. You don't need a perfect routine, but you just need to give your body basic respect. And this is something that I'm even still relearning in this season as I have a lot more on my plate. My mind wants to look for the shortcut, wants to outsource this, that, and the third, right? Wants to try and find a faster way, to get more out of myself versus just remembering to focus on the fundamentals and the basics and show my body basic respect. Sleep well, get enough protein, get enough water, take walks, get minimum 7,500 steps in a day, right? Remember to stretch, remember to breathe. When these small things stack up, they make a huge difference and they really compound. Don't make the mistake of thinking that they don't. Take care of yourself. And habit number 6 is expecting life to make sense before you move forward. And honestly, this is a big one. I've met so many people in my journey, and I can think of so many people that I've come across who stall their entire future and are in the same place year after year because they're waiting to feel fully confident. They're waiting to feel fully prepared. They're waiting to feel completely clear, to feel finally ready. But life just doesn't work like that. Clarity doesn't come before you move. It comes because you move, right? It comes because you move. You figure out who you are by trying things and failing and adjusting and reiterating and living long enough to collect more better data and information. And life gets easier when you accept this simple truth, and it's that you don't need to know everything. That's not true. You don't, and you never will. And that's kind of like a relief. I can't possibly know everything. Nobody does know everything. So what do you do then? Well, you just need to start with the part that you do know. Start there. That's what you have to do. So if any of these habits, hit you kind of hard, right? Or you recognize that's you, that's a good sign. That means that you're self-aware, okay? And all you need to change, well, at least step 1 of change is awareness. You can't shift or change something that you can't see or can't acknowledge. A lot of men live on autopilot ultimately for decades and never question why life feels heavier or harder than it needs to be. So, I'm happy you watched this video and made it to this point if you did. And once you start seeing your patterns clearly, you can really start to do something about them. So my invitation for you is just pick one of these and start shifting it this week. Not perfectly, not dramatically, not hardcore, just something enough to notice the difference. And you'd be surprised how much life eases up and starts to go in your favor when you stop fighting yourself. If you like this video, let me know by hitting the button. Check out the link in the description. And thanks for watching another video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.